The minute Liam Brooks slammed his sneaker on the conference table and said, "What we need is agile defense workflows," I knew we were officially circling the corporate drain. I'd just spent 3 hours untangling a vendor issue that would have delayed our Lockheed Martin delivery by 6 weeks, quietly saving the quarter without needing applause. Meanwhile, the CEO's son, fresh off some Silicon Valley retreat, had birthed this cursed new title of Chief Digital Transformation Officer, suggesting we gamify ITAR compliance. I wish I were kidding. Gamify. Military. Compliance. This was a Tuesday. By Thursday, he was asking if we could monetize downtime by incentivizing workflow disruption. That actually made someone snort in the back of the room. I didn't laugh. I'd seen this movie before and I knew how it ended. Some overprivileged kid tries to duct tape buzzwords onto defense contracts he doesn't understand. When the wheels fall off, they blame the guy who told them the bolts were loose. I should mention I'm Caleb Peterson, 49, Director of Strategic Operations. Been at Summit Defense Solutions for 18 years. Before that, 8 years Army Logistics. I don't speak unless necessary. I don't panic unless the server room's on fire. And I don't indulge corporate theater unless it's in the contract. I've survived 3 CEOs, 2 mergers, and the time our CTO tried to move classified data to his personal cloud for cost savings. What I do is keep things running smoothly, legally, and with as few federal investigations as possible. By contrast, Liam thinks operational security means updating his LinkedIn password. He came back from Austin with a whiteboard, an executive title, and weekly syncs he tried to schedule for Friday afternoons. Kind of guy who calls Microsoft Outlook a legacy platform, and once tried to submit classified docs by screenshotting them into a Google slide deck. I'm not mad, I'm tired. The first time he interrupted one of my meetings, he didn't introduce himself, just barged in, clicked present on the monitor, and started showing a pitch deck full of mountain climber stock photos and one terrifying slide that said Beast Mode Defense in Comic Sans. I stared at him. When he finished, I said, "Is there a business requirement embedded in any of that?" He blinked. "I'm ideating. Try doing it silently next time." To his credit, he didn't retaliate immediately. Just logged off, then sent a feedback form to my team asking how adaptable I was to new paradigms. Truth was, I'd been shielding him more than fighting him. Cleaning up behind the scenes, reformatting his meeting notes before they hit the board, reassigning people he mismanaged before they could escalate to HR. I didn't do it for him, I did it for the company. Someone had to keep the lights on. But it wasn't just Liam. The whole leadership culture was rotting. Wesley Brooks, the CEO and Liam's father, had checked out, too busy planning his legacy. He kept saying things like, "Liam's ideas are fresh. We need to modernize." But modernization without foundation is just a PowerPoint waiting to collapse. We had defense contracts teetering on technicalities, vendors operating without updated security protocols, and an Atlas Defense Capital milestone coming up that required 6 layers of DoD oversight. All of it lived invisibly on my desk. It wasn't ego, it was infrastructure. I didn't talk about what I managed because the point was for no one to notice when it worked. My job was invisible efficiency. That's what scared Liam most. You can't dominate what you don't understand, can't replace what you don't know exists. So he started poking, questioning my meetings, reassigning small tasks, scheduling alignment reviews with my analysts. Once he walked by my desk and muttered, "Deadwood doesn't prune itself." Cute. I grew up around sawmills. Deadwood's not what clogs the system, it's the fungus that thinks it's the tree. By first week of Q3, I could smell smoke under the door. He wanted confrontation, but I don't yell, I don't slam things, I don't send angry Slack messages at midnight like he does. I wait, I log, I prepare. When the call came, when Liam decided to go full meltdown during our Lockheed briefing, I didn't flinch, because when someone thinks they're untouchable, they forget to check if the wires they're cutting are live. It happened during our Q3 alignment call with Lockheed Martin Space Systems. The one with the 40 mm Atlas Defense milestone tied to deliverables, where every word had to be calibrated like defusing a bomb. We were mid-sentence, literally mid-sentence, explaining ITR protocols when my cell buzzed 3 times in a row. Same number, no context, just Liam pounding on the door like a toddler. I muted myself, stepped away, and answered because I assumed someone died or a server caught fire. Or, God forbid, he tried to upload classified docs to TikTok again. "Caleb," he snapped. "No hello, no preamble. Why aren't you in the innovation sync?" "What sync?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "The digital transformation alignment. I scheduled it 5 minutes ago." I need you in the room. I'm briefing Lockheed Martin on security compliance. You approved the agenda. Well, this is more important, he spat. We're reimagining the visual language of our roadmap. I paused, gave him a full beat of silence. You want me to leave a 40-miller defense briefing to discuss fonts? They're not fonts, they're emotive design vectors. I swear on everything sacred, he said that with his whole chest. I didn't yell, didn't argue, said as calmly as I could, Liam, I'll follow up after this call. That's when he snapped. No, I'm the CEO's son. I call, you answer. You're fired. Do you hear me? Fired. For a moment, I stood there, phone hot in my hand, listening to my heartbeat against the silence. Fired. Like it was that simple. Like I was a coffee machine he could unplug. Like 18 years of defense industry infrastructure could be dismissed by a tantrum from someone wearing Vans. I didn't respond, didn't indulge him, hung up without a word, walked back to my desk, unmuted, rejoined the Lockheed call like nothing happened, closed out the final scope discussion, smiled politely as the client said, As always, Caleb, your team makes it easy to approve. After the call ended, I sat there long enough to hear the air conditioner kick on and some junior PM trying to print a 400-page PDF on the wrong tray. Then I opened my inbox, searched Atlas Defense Agreement, Clause 8.4, Oversight Authorization. There it was. The email I'd flagged months ago. The line I knew by heart. All capital disbursements contingent upon active oversight by registered operational officer. Any change to designated party must be filed and accepted in writing by board and lead investors prior to disbursement. I hit forward. Subject, FYI. Body, just in case. Sent it to my personal account, nothing else. Then I stood up. Didn't slam drawers. Didn't stage a dramatic exit. Grabbed my jacket, the half-empty coffee mug I never washed, and a small cactus I'd kept alive longer than 3 CTOs. Walked past the front desk, nodded at security, held the elevator for someone from HR who didn't look up from her phone. Strangest part, no one stopped me. Not legal, not HR, not even Liam. I might as well have been a ghost. By the time I reached the parking lot, the sun was dipping behind the mountains, casting long shadows like God dragging a rake across Colorado Springs. I sat in my F-250 for a while, engine off, phone face down. Let the silence work. There's peace in being underestimated. While they're celebrating your absence, they don't realize the clock started ticking, and the fuse is already lit. 3 days. That's how long it took to realize I was officially fired unofficially. No email from HR, no exit paperwork, no Cobra packet, nothing. Just corporate cowardly silence. Like they hoped I'd vanish into retirement with a thank you card and sheet cake they forgot to order. But I don't fade quietly. I observe. Morning after Liam's tantrum, I made coffee in my kitchen like every weekday. Still waking at 05:30 out of muscle memory. Didn't rage, just sat with my planner open to a calendar that no longer applied and stared at a to-do list full of meetings I wasn't attending. Then I opened my laptop. First stop, the Atlas Defense Portal. The company had granted me aggressive equity after our last acquisition. Negotiated while Wesley played golf and Liam was probably doing keg stands in some frat house smelling like Axe body spray and despair. Logged in, expected alerts, revocation notices, pending action banners. But no, everything untouched. Vested options active, no flags, no termination updates. The system still thought I was employed. Interesting. Checked my work inbox from my phone. Curiosity, not desperation. Still active, no message from HR. My calendar hadn't been cleared. I was still listed as meeting host for Friday's operational forecast review. I laughed. Short, honest laugh. Because Liam didn't just fire me, he ghosted me. Wanted the drama of power without the follow-through. That's not leadership. That's cosplay. From what I could see through LinkedIn and brave souls still inside, Liam was already strutting through the office like a peacock on stimulants, bragging about removing friction points. Apparently meant firing 3 directors and replacing them with agile-focused shadow pods. Don't ask. Think he got it from Reddit. I didn't reach out to anyone, just watched. Checked Slack channels I still had access to. Watched Owen, a junior compliance analyst, post panicked messages about missing chain of custody documentation. Watched Liam respond with a gif of someone pouring gasoline on a computer. Charming. Meanwhile, vendor invoices got kicked back because the new guy, one of Liam's college friends, didn't know approval thresholds above certain amounts. Finance bottlenecked. Procurement started emailing just checking in more than usual, which anyone in ops knows means we're about to blow a gasket. Then came the kicker. Atlas Defense emailed asking for clarification on milestone documentation. Apparently no one realized I was the only one cleared to verify certain compliance thresholds. Had to be me. Not director of operations, not whoever's in charge. My name, Caleb Peterson, with my specific DoD clearance level. I watched Liam give a LinkedIn Live about flattening defense verticals and leveraging digital maturity. Swear to God, he said we're stronger than ever while standing in front of a whiteboard that had Caleb Itzkol's legacy bottlenecks scribbled behind him. Strong enough to forget the single person holding the key to your funding compliance. People started texting. Quiet ones mostly. Sophie from compliance. Do you remember where the Q4 documentation logs live? Isaac from investor relations. Know if we refiled oversight designation after the merger? One brave soul sent a meme of a dumpster fire floating down a flooded street captioned today's vibes. I didn't answer most, just archived them. Let them stack like dominoes on a wet floor. Because that's the thing about power. They assume it's in the room. Never imagine it walked out without slamming the door. And I hadn't slammed anything, just left quiet, calm, fully aware they'd pulled the pin but kept holding the grenade. Started with the weekly ops summary going to wrong distribution lists. Not huge on paper, except it included Q2 projections that weren't board approved yet, client names under NDA, and one unfortunate typo listing our total backlog as $18 instead of $18. Liam thought it was funny, said it gave us scrappy charm. Legal disagreed. So did investor relations, fielding frantic calls from European partners asking if the company had collapsed overnight. By Monday, cracks were forming, deliverables late, internal tickets piling up. Our client portal, which I'd integrated with self-healing error handlers, now spat access denials at top-tier customers because Liam's optimization team tried streamlining user flow by rewriting permission scripts with ChatGPT prompts. I could have fixed it in 15 minutes. Instead, I sat on my deck in a hoodie, sipping lukewarm coffee, watching a squirrel bury what looked like a chicken nugget in my flower bed. Oddly therapeutic. Messy, chaotic, natural. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Let it go to voicemail. Few minutes later, text from Owen. They're pretending you retired. I stared at it. No emojis, no context. Just that. Apparently in an all-hands meeting, Liam announced I'd transitioned out gracefully after a distinguished career and new leadership was taking operations in a bold new direction. No mention of being fired, no paperwork, no clarification. Just a soft eraser, like I was some dusty trophy moved to storage. But they forgot I built the shelf they were standing on. Same day, call from Isaac. Smart guy, calm, reads contracts for fun. Left a voicemail. Did you sign the verification packet? I hadn't. Because no one sent one. Because no one knew they needed it except me. Here's the deal. Every quarter for Atlas Defense to release the next 40 Molnar tranche, we had to submit milestone verification, not just a checklist. Formal document confirming all deliverables, contracts, and compliance thresholds were met. Had to be compiled by someone with verified oversight authority, someone whose name matched what was filed with the funding agreement. Guess who that someone was? Not Liam, not the CFO, not even Wesley. Just me, Caleb Peterson. One boring line buried on page 47 of a boring PDF everyone stopped reading after the third edit 2 years ago. Liam had no idea. But someone upstairs figured it out. Based on rising tension, LinkedIn job alerts spiking, project managers posting cryptic so proud of this team messages that read like eulogies, I knew panic was blooming. Funny thing, I wasn't mad anymore. Wasn't hurt. I was vindicated. Quietly. Completely. Because they didn't just replace me. They forgot what I did. Let the one person holding the entire compliance bridge walk into the sunset without even grabbing the map. Another ping. Email from finance controller. Hi, Caleb. Hope you're well. Quick question. Do you remember where we store original milestone templates from merger integration? Can't locate signed copies, and Liam says you might have them. Appreciate your help. No salutation, no apology. just twitchy, desperate tone of someone realizing they sent the race car down the track without checking the brakes. I didn't respond, didn't need to. I'd forwarded everything to Personal Archive already. The funding agreement, original templates, every internal memo where I'd reminded leadership I needed formal authority renewal post-merger. They had no idea how deep the thread ran. Now they were about to learn what happens when you pull it. The email from legal came at 10:12 hours. Subject line sanitized to comedy, friendly documentation request. Time-sensitive body was corporate theater, over-polished and desperate beneath. Started with hi Caleb, hope all is well. Then stumbled into the real ask. Could I, at earliest convenience, affirm procedural oversight for prior quarter in alignment with historical documentation protocols? Bloated way of asking me to sign a compliance memo they'd drafted 5 minutes ago. Backdated, naturally. Attached PDF was dated 3 weeks earlier with signature line pre-filled with my name. No signature. I stared at it, closed it, reopened it, then marked the thread unread and dragged it to a folder labeled "Nice Try." No reply. No negotiation. I wasn't going to federal prison because some kid wanted to impress daddy with slide decks and stolen acronyms. By lunch, 2 more messages followed. One from the CFO, polite and vague. Another from Liam's executive assistant, clearly having no idea what she was chasing. Hey Caleb, circling back on that quick doc sign-off. Liam's hoping to present Thursday. Quick doc sign-off. That quick doc represented federal-level compliance tied to $40 million investor funding. Wasn't a grocery list. Was the last lock on a vault door, with my name on it, literally and legally. No one else could turn that key. That afternoon, Atlas Defense called Wesley directly. Not the CFO, not legal. According to someone brave enough to text me, tone was cordial but clipped. Asked when formal milestone verification would be submitted so $40 disbursement could be processed. Wesley, probably sipping his third turmeric smoothie and pretending to understand Liam's whiteboard diagrams, deferred to his son. Liam, in infinite confidence, told them everything was under control, even said operations were running better than ever. I wish I could have seen their faces. At 17:03 hours, the investor's lawyer requested a clause review. That was the moment the music stopped. Clause 8.4 of the Atlas Defense Agreement, never meant to be dramatic, just governance boilerplate no one read after the 3rd revision. But I read it, memorized it, had my title, my name, specific language tying milestone verification to designated operational oversight officer, singular, not plural. Any change required board approval and documented consent from lead investor, filed at least 10 business days before milestone review. They'd filed nothing. I hadn't resigned. They hadn't terminated me formally, no successor named. They'd fired me with a phone tantrum, then tried to pretend I evaporated. Now the only thing standing between Summit Defense and 40 Million was a PDF requiring my signature. The irony was beautiful. Compliance clause buried and boring, overlooked by every ego in the room, now weaponized by its own neglect. I wasn't excited, wasn't angry anymore, felt calm, cold, deliberate calm. Went for a walk, left phone on the counter, watched kids play with a broken skateboard, thought about how many times I'd been told to be a team player by men who wouldn't last 10 minutes in a real crisis. When I got back, 6 unread messages. 3 from legal, 1 from the EA again, 1 from Isaac apologizing for the confusion, and 1 from Atlas Defense's assistant. Caleb, we'd like to set up a short conversation, off the record. Please let us know if you're open. I didn't answer. Not because I was being petty, because I didn't need to speak. The clause would do it for me. Already loaded. All they had to do was try faking another document and let it explode in their faces. By Wednesday morning, first domino fell. Vendor in Colorado paused shipment of precision components, citing contractual irregularities pending compliance clarification. Nice way of saying they didn't trust payment. Others followed. Logistics firm in Arizona stopped field service. Government contractor in Virginia froze testing environment access until documentation was updated with verified oversight officer's signature. That signature still bore my name. Inside the company, wasn't panic yet, but close. Wesley's inbox reportedly ballooned to 800+ unread messages in 48 hours. Investors demanding updates, clients asking what was happening, internal departments lobbing questions at legal like tennis balls from a cannon. By Thursday afternoon, Liam's name quietly disappeared from the org chart. Not removed, just rebranded. Chief Digital Transformation Officer, became Strategic Advisory Partner, then by Friday evening vanished altogether. No announcement, no LinkedIn post, no farewell email. Still showing up apparently, but no one knew what he was doing. Rumor was they revoked badge access to classified areas after he tried cleaning up a permissions directory with a plugin from Reddit. The emergency board meeting was called for Monday morning. 0730 hours. No agenda, no coffee service, no pleasantries, just tense faces and an atmosphere sharp enough to slice steel. The reckoning was coming. The emergency board meeting began with usual performative calm. Coffee in branded mugs, leather chairs adjusted just so, everyone pretending it wasn't a 4-alarm fire dressed in business casual. Wesley logged in from his home office, still wearing spin-class gear, visibly annoyed someone dared interrupt his routine with consequences. Liam was already there, smiling, nodding, acting like he was pitching Series B instead of defending disaster. Wore one of those shirts that looked expensive but fit wrong, too tight in the chest, like trying to squeeze competence out of cotton. Atlas Defense's lawyer, a man who looked like he aged 3 years per page of fine print, was last to speak. Didn't introduce himself, didn't thank anyone, just opened black leather folder, cleared throat, and began reading. Per Section 8.4 of the Disbursement Agreement, all capital releases shall be contingent on active oversight by registered operational oversight officer. He looked up. Not at Liam, not at Wesley. At the entire board. To date, no such filing has occurred. No successor has been named. No formal notice of termination was submitted for the officer on file, Caleb Peterson. Silence hit so hard it felt like air got vacuumed out. Liam, naturally, didn't stay quiet. Okay, but it's just a naming thing, right? He said, grinning like guy who thinks the joke hasn't landed yet. He's not even here anymore. We've streamlined operations. The lawyer didn't blink, just raised one hand, palm out. It's not about him, he said, voice cold and even. It's about due process. You broke it. Didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. Weight of that sentence cracked something invisible in the room. One board member coughed. Another took off glasses and started polishing them like she needed something, anything to do with her hands. Liam opened his mouth again. Wesley shot him a look that could melt granite. That's when Liam seemed to realize for the first time his last name wouldn't save him from a paper trail he hadn't read. Lawyer continued, flipping page with slow deliberation. We will not authorize further disbursements until the matter is resolved to our legal satisfaction. That includes updated filings, verified transitions of authority, and potentially retroactive compliance documentation. He closed the folder with soft thud that somehow echoed louder than shouting. There is no immediate fix. A spreadsheet flickered on the projector. Rows of vendor payments, R&D forecasts, recruitment projections, all grayed out. Every number suddenly theoretical until paperwork was right. Someone whispered Christ under their breath. Wesley looked pale. Not angry, scared. Glanced at Liam, who for once had nothing to say. Just sat there blinking like trying to reboot. Wasn't just the money. Was what the freeze implied. Projects stalled, vendors unpaid, deadlines missed. Cascading failure that wouldn't hit like a wrecking ball but like an avalanche. Slow, relentless, impossible to outrun. They could have had everything handled, the filings, succession, continuity. But it was built on assumption that I was background function, that I'd keep going even after being discarded. But I didn't storm out, didn't yell, didn't write manifestos on LinkedIn about toxic leadership. I forwarded one email and waited. Now they were learning. Silence costs millions. Real punch came from Atlas Defense that afternoon. They emailed me directly. No lawyer, no assistant. Subject, let's talk. Body. Caleb, we recognize your unique understanding of our operational framework and systems you helped build. If open to it, we'd love to discuss a consulting engagement. Terms flexible, discretion assured. Warmly, short, surgical. No flattery, no fluff. Kind of message that hits like a scalpel. Precise and irreversible. Offer wasn't just about fixing their mess. It was about admitting no one else could. I didn't answer right away, not because I was unsure, because it was more satisfying to let them wait. Meanwhile, board convened internal governance review, not just to assess damage, but investigate how CEO's son was allowed to fire essential executive without board ratification or HR documentation. Friday evening, I sat in small cafe 2 blocks from Summit Defense. They couldn't see me, but I could see them. Surreal watching them scramble inside that glass box like ants discovering someone moved the sugar. Barista brought my coffee. Black, no sugar. Sweetness was ambient now. Phone buzzed. Venmo notification from Zachary Stone. Note: you were right. Amount: $47. Emoji: coffee cup. I laughed. Full belly laugh from deep in the ribs. Zachary was old-timer. Payroll wizard with sharp tongue and brain like calculator. We used to split coffee every Thursday. Every Thursday he'd tell me, "One day they'll figure out you were the spine holding this circus up." Looks like he was right. I sipped, watched the building glow under fluorescent lights, felt no anger, no revenge rush, just stillness. Rare quiet that comes not from winning, but from being proven. I hadn't screamed, hadn't begged, hadn't posted dramatic LinkedIn farewell thanking my journey. Just left the gate open and let gravity work. They broke it. I stopped holding it together. 2 weeks later. Different office, smaller, cleaner, built with intention, not ego. Natural light across conference table that didn't seat 15 men with security complexes. I stood in the center, placing single folder on my new desk, labeled in gold foil. Continuity and control. How to build companies that outlast their founders. Atlas Defense Partner walked in. No entourage, just subtle nod. No handshake. Didn't need one. "We'd like you to lead the rebuild," he said, glancing around modest but functional space. No boys with last names this time. I nodded once. That was enough. Didn't need the apology. Didn't need ceremony. I'd been through fire and paperwork, came out forged, not burned. I hung one item on the wall before sitting down. Not diploma, not award, just printed transcript of the call that started it all. Liam's voice immortalized in 12-point courier. "I'm the CEO's son. I call, you answer. You're fired." Underneath, I stuck bright yellow sticky note, slightly off-center. Not anymore. The phone rang. First client call of my new consulting practice. I picked up on the second ring, smiled, and got back to work. Some things never change, like the satisfaction of a job done right by someone who knows how to do it.